Hi again. This is video number 4. Are you ready to learn a little bit more about how this class works? In this video, we're going to talk about testing. So you work on your assignments for a period of weeks, and looking at your calendar, you realize that a test is coming up. And so you have learned it's now time for me to assess how well you have learned whatever we were studying. So let's talk about how you take a test. I'm going to share my screen again. And here we go. We are back in my math lab. Actually, not where I meant to be. Let me go back to the course homes. That's a good place, better place to start. Now, the tests in this class are also located at the Assignments tab. So I'm going to click on Assignments here. And this is a little unusual. You may have noticed it when I had this open in the previous video. I have a couple things that I temporarily made visible from way off in the future when we have our first test. Now, notice that it seems like a lot of things happen this way. Things come in pairs. In week 5, there is a practice test and there is a test. The practice test, if you look over here, see this 1 of infinity? The infinity means that you have the opportunity to take the practice test as many times as you like. I've already been in there and mucked around a little bit, so that gives me 1. The actual test you can only take 1 time, and it has a time limit. Tests are available for generally a 2-day week window from midnight in the morning of the first day to 11:59 p.m. in the evening of the second day. You pick the time slot that works for you, whatever that might be, early morning, middle of the night, or whatever it is, and you'll have a 90-minute window to work it in. When you see a test coming, you absolutely want to do the practice test first. The practice test is not for a grade. It doesn't count in your grade at all. But it really is important because it's going to give you a sense of what a test is like. Let's see what happens. So anytime you open a test or a practice test, it's going to open up with a window basically saying, are you ready to get started? Notice it says that I have unlimited attempts on a practice test and there's no time limit on this. And you click Start Test. Opens up a little bit differently from the homework. It opens up 1 question at a time. Looks pretty much like the homework. You can even go to this drop-down menu here and not necessarily do the questions in order. Always a good idea on tests. As you're working through a test, if you get stuck on a question, try not to obsess on that one too much. Move on to the next, and then use this option here to get back to the questions that you couldn't get the first time. And as you get close to the end, you can focus on those again. Maybe your brain will have cleared a little bit. Now, a couple other things I want to point out. Help screens are gone. So on a test, you don't have any help screens, and check answer is gone. So what's different on a test is you work the problems very much like you would before, but you don't get any help, and you can't check yourself as you go. You will only know how you did once you submit the test. Notice this practice test looks a little bit long. This is in general true. I generally make the practice test roughly twice as long in number of questions as a regular test, just to give you plenty of practice. Like homework, you can work on a practice test a little bit at a time, work it for a while, submit that, see how you did, work a little bit more of it. That's not going to be true for a test. It is so important to try a practice test because the training wheels are off, so to speak. And you want to experience how that feels in a non-threatening situation before you're actually doing something for a grade. It does feel different. Now the questions look pretty much the same, and you just can page through them or go to the drop-down menu and pick the one you want. Once you have finished the practice test, and the test works the same way, you need to submit the test. So that's a little different. Whenever you're in a practice test or a test, submit test. And as you can see here, it's saying, you know, gee, you haven't done anything. I'm going to submit it anyway. On the practice test, you will immediately get a report on how you did. All these red X's indicate that I basically didn't do them. If you got them right, you'll see a green check. And you can check and look at each question and see what it is that you did wrong. And that's kind of nice. It'll show you both the correct answer, and if you had a wrong answer, it will show you that also. I recommend trying the practice test a couple times. Maybe when you're about ready for the test, jump in and take the practice test kind of cold, just see what you can do. And then looking at the questions that you missed, find those videos or ebook, or using the ebook or the PowerPoint, and practice with that a little bit more before you try again. Now, once you've tried the practice test for a while and you feel like you're ready to go, make sure you set aside some time to work the test itself. The test itself does have some security features in it. One of them is that it can only be taken in one sitting, so that if you say, hey, I think I'll go to the beach in the middle of the test, when you come back, it's not going to let you back in. You have to take it in one sitting. You also will see it's password protected. So when you open this up, the first thing it's going to ask for is a password. I will be sending you these passwords by email shortly before the test window begins, mainly because I'll have other instructions I want to share with you then, and I want to make sure you read those. So you enter your password and submit, and then you get into the test. You see the time limit, and much like the practice test, you start. Now, a couple features about this. I have something set called blocked access. The way blocked access works, if I were to try to go back over here and look at my homework or an ebook or one of the videos, it will notice that I am doing that and it will kick me out and I can't go any farther. If I leave the test altogether to go exploring on the Google universe looking for something to help, it will not let me back in. If you leave the test, it will cancel you out and make you stop. That is a testing security issue. Furthermore, if that happens to you, you're actually blocked completely out of my math lab until you contact me. And like I said before, we're going to have a discussion about what happened there. Now, things can go wrong that are out of your control. If you have a power outage, if your internet goes down, you're going to get kicked out as well. So I'm definitely not going to automatically assume that something nefarious was happening, but we do need to talk about it. So those are some things that happen. The order of the test questions are also scrambled. And I use something called test pooling, where the test will pick one of several questions of the same type and then algorithmically generate the numbers on top of that. What that means is that no two people will have exactly the same test. The questions will not be exactly the same, and the questions will not be in the same order. So, and also, as you've probably seen already, the questions are not multiple choice, so remembering the answers is not going to be easy either. These are all just test security features. Now again, when you're done, you are ready to submit the test. What will be different here is that it will tell you what you missed. There we go again, submit the test. It'll tell you what you missed, but it will not let you look at your work. Notice I can't click on these anymore. The answers, your work, what you actually did on the test, will not be visible to you until the test deadline passes. And at that point, you'll be able to go in and see exactly what you did. So hang on to that thought for sure. Now, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. When you are working your test, you, of course, will be using some scratch paper. And I want to show you what I want you to do with that. I would like to see your scratch paper, both because I'd like to see how you're doing and whether there's any direction or support I can give you, but also just to make sure that what you're doing on the computer matches what you're doing pencil and paper. So let me talk a little bit about what I'm going to have you do with the scratch paper. In fact, I'm going to unshare my screen. I don't know what that's asking for anymore. I'm going to unshare my screen for just a second here. Let's see. Stop. There we go. Got lost there for a second. All right. So you're going to have some scratch work, and you finish that like that. Now, what I would like you to do is scan that scratch work and send it to me as a PDF. Now, you can, of course, just take a picture with your phone, and that'll create a JPEG, which is incredibly hard to read and often pretty blurry, so we don't want to do that. There are some apps available that will use the camera feature in your phone, but will create a PDF that will be sent to you instead of just a JPEG picture. There's several of these available. They're all free. The one that I happen to use is called Adobe Scan, which is from Adobe. Cam Scanner is another one. And actually, if you have one of the newer versions of an iPhone, the camera feature can directly be used, and you can select that a PDF be created instead of a JPEG. And there's many other things like that. So you scan that, and once you've scanned it, you can, in one way or another, download it to your computer as a PDF, and then here is how you're going to get it to me. I'm going to share the screen again. All right, now, your test is over, so you don't need the assignment sheet anymore. What you're going to do instead is look at another link over here we haven't talked about yet called Document Sharing. You're going to click that. And the document sharing is going to get you to some folders that you can see. I've created folders for the scratch work for all the tests. You click one of those, and notice that it shows up down here. And notice that you've got an option to upload a document. Click that. And this is oh so important here. You get an option of whether you want just me to see it or you want the whole class to see it. You don't want the rest of your classmates to see your homework, your scratch work. So make sure you're really careful to choose instructor only. Otherwise, all your dirty laundry gets aired everywhere. So be careful about that. Much like many things, you do a browse. You find the scratch work on your hard drive or wherever you kept it, and then you upload the document. And then I have it. I can write a description here, and what I want you to do in the description is to include your name, and you really don't have to say anything more than that, and add that in, and it goes into my folder here, where I only can go take a look at it whenever you want, whenever I want. Let me see what happens when I show the link. That gives me a direct show. And okay, there's something wrong there. That's all right. But let me show you what it's going to look like to me. I do have this as a PDF. And there it is right there. So there is my scratch work. You can see how brilliant I did on the test. And I will have those and be able to look at them. If I see that you're struggling with something, I will definitely communicate with you. If I have some questions, I don't understand what you're doing, I need you to explain it to me, I may ask you to set up a meeting with me in communication. The next video, we're going to talk about how we could set up a WebEx meeting one-on-one, and we might be doing that. Okay. Now, that is basically what you do with the test. Before we leave this lesson or this video, I want to say a few more words about some expectations that we have of everybody while they're taking their test. And for this, I am going to go to my syllabus link and look at my syllabus once more. Way down towards the bottom of the syllabus, there's a section on academic integrity. What is integrity? The best definition I've ever seen of integrity is a quotation from C.S. Lewis, a wonderful, wonderful British writer from the 20th century. And his definition goes like this: integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. At Lone Star College and at all other colleges and universities, we expect our students and ourselves to live up to very high standards of integrity when it comes to academic work. I want to invite you to especially reread this part of the syllabus, which talks a little bit about academic integrity and steps that will be taken if it is determined that there has been a breach of academic integrity. Now, what I think is one of the most important things, yes, I have some features. I have the blocked access. I have the scrambled questions. I have a time limit. I'm asking to look at your scratch work. Yes, I'm doing some things to check to make sure that everything is on the up and up. But another part of what I think is my responsibility is to make sure that you understand from our perspective what academic integrity looks like. So there's an educational obligation on my part to make sure that you understand what we're talking about. This paragraph in here includes sort of a description of what we mean. So I especially want you to read this part here. Let's look at that. I think the purple makes it distracting though, so I'm going to take that out of the way. Failure to uphold academic standards includes, but is not limited to, plagiarizing written works, or exams or assignments, colluding on an exam or a project. That means getting someone to help you with the exam or the project. Misrepresentation of credentials before registering for a course, not really relevant there. Cheating includes looking or copying from another student's exam, orally communicating or reviewing answers during an exam, having another person take an exam or complete a project or assignment, using unauthorized notes, texts, or other materials for an exam, or obtaining or distributing an authorized copy of the exam or any part of the exam. A little bit more detail about plagiarism and collusion. I wanted to especially point out that we have a section on academic integrity in mathematics courses. So examples of academic misconduct that are relevant to math classes, what we said so far is broadly for your English class, your history class, your PE class, your everything. Here's some things in mathematics that we're looking for. So examples of academic misconduct include submitting work done by another person as their own, allowing another person to complete online an assignment on the student's behalf, seeking help from using resources not authorized by Lone Star College, using an internet-enabled device, such as having a second computer open, a smartphone, a tablet, or a smartwatch while you're taking your test, using a calculator other than the one authorized for use in your class. You might remember from earlier in the syllabus, we are recommending a TI 83 or 84, and there's a brand of Casio that is also okay. Using notes, text, formulas, or on the quiz or exam. And sadly, there are people who have found ways to profit over the temptation to cheat and have come up with an array of programs that will help you do so. Now, some of these are totally innocent. YouTube is meant to be an educational feature, as is Wolfram Alpha. But some of these are designed specifically to show you, you type in a question, it shows you how to do it. And you might say, hey, no worries. The professor doesn't see me doing this. How do I could get away with it? Well, there is that alternate reason that I want to see your scratch work. A lot of these sites will give you methods that are quite advanced, far more advanced than college algebra. And I will be able to notice, that's a very unusual approach. And that might be part of a conversation that we have face-to-face over WebEx, where I might ask you, can you explain to me exactly how you got the answer to this question? Now, with all that said, and I want you to understand what we think is important. And I also want to talk about why we think it's important. And like C.S. Lewis said, integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. And there are so many reasons why that is relevant. One reason is the content that you're learning may be something that you will actually need to use someday. Some of you will be engineers, for example, and you'll be expected to do advanced calculations. And if you never actually learn to use them because somebody was doing them for you or you're using an app, you won't be able to do them. And you'll end up terribly embarrassed on your first job, and that is not something you want to happen. Also, cheating is a symptom of a lack of self-confidence. When one cheats, what one is really saying to oneself is that I don't believe I can do this. And doing that repeatedly can reinforce in you a belief that you're really not capable of facing the challenges that life may bring you, not only just a math test, but life in general. And that the only way around things is to find some way to cheat around it. That's not psychologically healthy. It is psychologically affirming to work hard, to do something on your own, to accomplish it, and to be able to say, look, I can handle the hurdles that I have to approach in life. If I can do the little ones, I can do the big ones. Behaviors evolve into character. Bad behaviors, isolated though they may seem, accumulated over time, affects the character of who you are. Good behaviors, repeated over time, affects the character of who you are in a positive way. Abraham Lincoln once used the phrase of the better angels of our nature. The character that we develop in doing the right things at all times reaches into our better angels and makes us better people. Another famous speaker, in giving a parable about three workers, each given a task. Two of them worked very, very hard. The other one slept off. He didn't really cheat, he just slept off. But he said to the ones that did the hard work, he said, you've been trustworthy in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. And that comes from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25. As we build character from good choices, not only do we build confidence in ourselves and the kind of internal better angels that Abraham Lincoln was talking about, we also show that we're trustworthy to other people. And as we gain the trust of other people, we gain greater responsibilities and greater opportunities. That's a little bit of a sermon for today, and that's okay, because I want you to understand why we teachers make such a big deal about following all the rules when you take a test. And I hope it will help you to feel more confident, to feel emboldened to try hard, emboldened to succeed, emboldened to do it the right way. And in the end, you will feel really good about yourself. Do great on the tests. I hope everyone makes A's. That's what I would really like. All right, that's the end of this video. You take care.